Hi everyone, welcome to Trivera Tip Tuesday. In case you missed our last session, we were talking about getting started with ADA compliance. So with everyone online now more than ever, following guidelines for ADA compliance can help you provide a better user experience for everyone, including people with diminished eyesight, or maybe someone who's typing with one hand because they have a broken arm due to injury. So it's not just about people who are maybe blind or deaf or something like that. Now, it's important to know that if you go back and listen to that short conversation, it's not going to bring you into compliance, but it can get you started down the path to ADA compliance, which is a better user experience for everyone. So today, we are going to be talking about how zero-click searches have changed SEO. I'm Christina Stetter. I'm the EVP here at Trivera, and I'm talking with Cassie Richardson. Cassie, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Cassie Richardson. I am the Search Marketing Director at Trivera, located in Louisville right now.
Awesome. Yep, we're not together, which like most people, we're not together. So this doesn't really look unusual to anybody, even though we're pretty far apart right now.
Absolutely.
So to get started on this conversation, zero-click is really a big deal. And it's something that we've been talking about during our lunch and learns and webinars for probably a couple of years. But over that time, we found a lot of people still are not familiar with what a zero-click search is. So Cassie, can you explain a zero-click search to people who don't know what that is?
Yep, absolutely. A zero-click search is exactly what it sounds like. It is when a searcher finds out the information that they're looking for directly in the search result itself. You don't have to click on a link or visit a website to get that information. Historically, search results have been, 10 blue hyperlinks. Each result looks the same. You have to go to a website to get any information, but that's definitely not the case anymore. There are many different instances where Google is answering directly to the searcher in the result itself. If you want to think about questions or searches related to the weather, Google can deliver that answer to you. Google can deliver answers related to what time is it, directions, and then a lot of simple informational searches. Let me show you one example. So here's a search for where was Stephen Hawking born? And as you can see, I don't have to click on a website to get that. Google knows a lot about who Stephen Hawking is, where he was born, and has answered that intent for me. That's satisfied my search. I know what I want, or got what I want to find, and I don't have to go to a website to get it.
That is a great example. And one of the reasons that this is such a big deal is because it's so easy, like just what you showed. You ask a simple question, you get a simple answer. It's right there on the page that Google serves up. It's a fantastic user experience for the average internet user. The problem is that for a lot of marketers, website traffic and organic search traffic was the yardstick that we were using for success. More clicks, more website visitors equals more success. But now, if people can get the answers to the questions that they're answering right on the SERP, then there's no need to click, which means that for many, in fact, most companies, organic clicks are going down. So if that is the yardstick that you are using to measure your success, you're going to have a problem. So let's talk about what we can do about that, because we can't fight Google. Google runs the world, but there are things that we can do. So in order to understand what we can do, first, it's important to understand exactly what a SERP feature is. So Cassie, can you explain kind of briefly what SERP features are?
Yep, so when we say SERP, that means search engine result page. And a SERP feature is essentially anything that isn't a standard organic result that ends or that links to a website. So just as we mentioned, search results are no longer 10 blue hyperlinks. They're very dynamic, they're personalized to where you're located. They're often very interactive. And again, I just want to show you a quick example of what that looks like. So here's a search for MacBook Pro, and we're dealing with a lot of different SERP features. So here's an ad carousel, site links, news stories. People also ask, so Google understands what I'm looking for and is actually suggesting new searches that I can enter in. And then here's a local pack too. So as Christina mentioned about zero click, this is also a really good user experience. SERP features are meant to deliver more personalized and more relevant results. And as you can see, there are tons of them. Currently, there are actually over 40 different kinds, and new ones are rolling out all the time.
Yeah. And on top of the fact that there are a lot of different kinds of SERP features, they also show up a lot. So right now, SERP features show up in about 25% of Google searches. They also show up in Bing searches because Bing has a similar version of this, but we're not really going to talk about Bing today because Google controls 94% of searches. And on top of all of that, Google sends about 15% of search traffic back to its own properties. So things like YouTube, which is owned by Google, Google Maps, Google News, Google Images, all of those things are stealing traffic from your website. So depending on what searches were bringing traffic to your website, those searches could be down anywhere from 30 to 70%. And it's not just because people don't need to click anymore, it's also because being number one isn't what it used to be anymore, right, Cassie?
Definitely correct. Depending on your industry, your location, the search term used, and even the personal history of the searcher, people are seeing very different results, and they're often seeing results with a ton of different SERP features. One really interesting example of this is a study that was published by Social Media Examiner. So Social Media Examiner is a content publisher. So they are a company that writes a lot about social media marketing tactics. And they rank number 3 for the term social media. So as you can imagine, that's typed in a lot, actually over 1 million times a month. And they used to get a lot of traffic for that term because they're ranking in the number 3 spot. But they've seen that decline significantly over time. And as of now, they actually get less than 1% of all clicks for searchers that type in social media. And so let's just take a look at why that might be. So if you type in social media, here's the result that a lot of people get. So SERP feature, a little paragraph of what it is. People also ask, so related questions to this topic. On the right-hand side here is what we call a knowledge panel. It's basically a summary of everything that Google knows about social media. Scroll further down, here's a Twitter feed, and then finally we get to the organic search results, and then here's Social Media Examiner at the number 3 spot. So as you can see, that's really far down and even much further down if you're on a mobile device. So it's really easy to see why they've seen that traffic decline as the search landscape has changed. I think this is a really good example of how hard Google is working to answer intent, to give the user what they need, but to also give the user what they need directly in the search result itself. One other example of that, so that was an informational query. Somebody wants to know about social media. This is happening for commercial searches as well. So if somebody's interested in buying something or seeking out a professional service, like lawn care services, you see once again a lot of SERP features. Here are local lawn services. And this business right here probably worked really hard to get in the number 1 organic spot for a business. And they have to compete with all those SERP features, Angie's List and directory listings, but also a lot of Google ads, which are very prevalent in search results as well.
Yeah. I think the big thing to note about this too is your examples are fantastic, but you were showing them on a desktop today because that's what we're talking to each other on. If we were doing this on a mobile device, I've seen that same study for Social Media Examiner, and I think the number 1 result, I think was like four slides down. So it's really, it takes a long time to get to it on a phone. So then the question is, how are marketers supposed to deal with this? And there are basically 3 ways. One is you can try to get one of these SERP features. That is totally possible, but it involves a lot of research, and we don't have time to go into that today. So if you really want to learn more about it, you should check out a future webinar that we'll plug at the end of this. The other thing that you can do is you can think about how you measure success and what your philosophy is for your website. And then the third one is advertise. So let's talk about measurement and philosophy first, because that's really, really important. So what do you think that people should think about, Cassie?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just being aware that this is happening. Studying the search landscape is vital. Knowing the types of search results that show up for your industry or for topics that are really important to your business. And then also just knowing that this isn't just happening for those informational searches or commercial searches, but is also really prevalent for branded searches. A lot of businesses have seen traffic decline because a lot of the traffic that they used to get were for branded terms. So people were searching their business name or asking questions about their business, and they were used to getting that traffic to their website. And that's no longer necessarily the case. The reason being is because Google not only understands the intent of the searcher, but Google also knows so much about your business that it's able to answer that information directly in the search result itself. So one more example, I just want to show really quick. So here's a search for what time is Doc Crow's open? It's a local restaurant in Louisville. And Google is able to actually give me that information. So a couple things about this really quick is to think about the fact that a couple years ago, if I wanted that answer, I would have to go to the website to get it. So for this business, they're probably seeing a traffic decline for this type of query, which necessarily isn't a bad thing, right? That's not necessarily valuable traffic. That's somebody who wants to know about your business, and Google's giving that information to them very quickly. So you always want to keep that in mind. And as Christina mentioned, think about the philosophy or the intent behind the search. And then the second thing that I want to point out about this example, and for branded searches in general, is if I'm searching about the business, take a look at what you see here. So here's where Google summarizes everything they know about your business. So you can actually look at photos. I can find out their reviews. I can find out information about their hours of operation, their dine-in services. I can even make a reservation without ever having to go to their website. So not only do you have to keep in mind how the traffic might be fluctuating and whether or not it's a bad thing, but you also need to make sure that you're treating your branded search result as your homepage. If this information is accurate and appealing, you can still get users to take those desired actions on the SERP itself. You just have to make sure that information is up to date.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, like you said, those visitors might not have been super valuable. They were just looking for something so they could come into your establishment. And if people are still coming into your establishment, COVID aside, then maybe that wasn't such a valuable search. So really the thing that's important to do is you need to educate yourself, and then you need to educate the people that you report to so that they understand why this is happening, and so that you can be measured on things that make a difference to your company's bottom line, because that is the function of marketing, is to improve sales and make a difference to the bottom line. So if you want to know more about that, check out one of our old Tip Tuesdays. We actually did one just about reporting, so you can learn more about that.
Yeah, and one other thing as it relates to all this too, is just to think back to the intent of the searcher. With that social media examiner example, if you think about what they do, they are a business that writes a lot about social media marketing tactics. And if you think about the intent behind the search, social media, that's probably somebody who doesn't know much about it. And what Google's serving up to them actually fits their need. Google's defining social media and showing examples and suggesting other questions to ask. So that intent doesn't really align with the type of content that Social Media Examiner wants to deliver. On top of the fact that we've seen they can't compete with that, you know, that top level, very broad content. Google's giving those answers directly in the SERP. So that's where we want to take advantage of content marketing and writing much more detailed content and trying to have that type of search result show up, because that's where Google can't necessarily compete. You're never going to get all the information on a given topic in a search result itself.
That's true. That's true. And then the last thing that you can think about doing beyond changing your philosophy is also to consider advertising. And I always hate to tell people that they have to pay to play, but like I've said before, it's Google's world. We're just living in it. And so if you want to be at the top, and like Cassie mentioned, a lot of these examples are showing up for branded searches, then you probably want to buy your own brand name. And it's important to do that not only because of the search features, but because of the way things are working now. If you don't buy your own brand name, someone else will. I think a lot of people are surprised to know that it is not illegal to buy someone else's brand name as a keyword. So it is, if you search on yourself and one of your competitors comes up with an ad, there's a good chance they bought your name as one of their keywords. So that's
Just
it.
to add,
Yeah. Go
sorry,
ahead.
just to add to that really quick, talking about how you want to have the perfect representation or a very up-to-date representation of what shows up when somebody searches your business. Setting up ads is the only way to guarantee what you want to show up will, because you write that ad copy. So there's another huge benefit to bidding on your own brand name, is to make sure that you can control what shows up in the search as best as possible.
That's true, because we didn't really get into that, but there are a lot of times where Google pulls what they want from the content that you've shown, not what you try to get them to show. Yeah. So if you would like to learn more about this, because this is obviously something Cassie and I can talk about for a lot longer than 15 minutes, please keep an eye out for future webinars. We will be speaking at the BizTimes Expo, which is going to be virtual and in mid-August. And one of the topics we'll be talking about is all of these search features and zero-click searches. So if you're able to attend the virtual expo, you'll be able to learn a lot more about it there. And then, of course, you can always check back on Trivera.com or our YouTube channel for more tips on all things related to digital marketing. We do this approximately every week, a little less now that it's in the summer. But we love sharing what we know, and we're hopping online all the time. So thank you so much, Cassie, for this. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to share what you know with everybody today. So have a great day, and bye.
Take care.